Hello. How's it going, everybody? Blake, especially. How are things going on your side?
Oh, just peachy. Wonderful day. How are
Gee,
you, Brian?
wonderful. Doing fantastic. Happy to be here. Happy to unpack the news. I mean, what is the name of today's episode? It's like every story is overlapping now in just the strangest way. Today's episode of the Agree to Disagree show is called Assange, Carlson, Navalny, Trump, Snowden, Putin, Biden, WTF. It's like everything's just overlapping onto each other. The same global chaos. So I don't know. I always appreciate this time of the week where we get to kind of unpack what's going on and try to figure out if we're following a story properly or if we could find better takes on the news. I mean, one of the big stories of the past decade has been the revealing of just how biased and corrupt, manipulative, lying, warmongering, suicidal, genocidal, like all sorts of homicidal. The media's complicity in misreporting reality has been one of the biggest dark clouds hanging over humanity. And the only good thing coming out of all of this is that we're getting to see it now. So this is all in the news. We're going to talk about all of those people I just said. We're going to ask, is it okay to criticize the death of Alexei Navalny, but not Julian Assange? We're going to ask, is it obvious that Donald Trump is controlled by Vladimir Putin? Do you agree or disagree with that? Also, I mean, isn't Donald Trump set up to be the next Navalny, like the opposition party leader taken out? They've tried everything else that hasn't worked, but we'll get to that. We're going to ask you if you agree or disagree. That should be a crime to refuse and or question the jabs. Should medicine be practiced on you regardless of your input? I can't believe we're in this place in time. Isn't it fun? Well, what a great time to be alive. This is the craziest stuff. If I read this in a book, I'd go, oh, come on. People are not living in a society that they're forcing these things into people. Yet here we are. Okay, we're also going to ask people who have criticized Israel, should they be banned from their jobs? We're going to ask, is it okay to dox minors for hate crimes as long as they're a certain color? It's weird what's reported and what's not reported. And then the double standards. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the 2024 election coming up. Will it be taken away? Will censorship rule the day? Will the voting be legal or illegal? My God. We're just a few months away, and I don't know that we have the mechanisms to properly tally a nationwide vote. I can't believe we got to this point, but here we are. We're also going to talk about this President's Day was yesterday. How did you celebrate, Blake? That'll be my first question once I finish this next story. How did you celebrate President's Day? But do Trump and Biden both deserve their spots that they received on the best presidents list? And also, I tossed this one in there. Oh, I guess there's one more. Should Democrats be concerned with the Trump trucker situation in New York? Because, of course, that was another big Engelman story, another ruling against Trump, and now the truckers are having their chance to speak out. Blake, what did you do for President's Day?
It's just like a normal day for me. It was like a regular Monday.
Yeah.
Working out wasn't so much a holiday, but yeah. What about you, Brian?
Just another working day. I don't know who lives the life of luxury where they just take days off, but it was interesting.
Well, it's not like a true holiday weekend for me. Yeah, certain federal holidays where everyone's not working or staying at home enjoying that, but no, it didn't really have that same feel. The market was closed. Mail didn't get delivered, but outside of that, it was just a regular Monday for me.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting seeing the amount of love that the presidents were receiving. I guess if we can, let's just start there since we're on it. There's not too much to say about it, but, roll it into the segue, Blake. Do Trump and Biden both deserve the spots that they got on the best presidents list? I mean, off the top of your head, how many presidents have we had? So Trump was 45?
Yep. So 46.
Are we counting former Vice President Biden?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they came out with this list, which is just heavily biased. It was just absurd and ridiculous, and should not be taken seriously. Here are the bogus rankings. No, this is we'll call it a biased article, but obviously,
Okay, here's my question. What gave it away that it's biased? What does it say in the bottom right corner in that little rectangle, Blake? The white and red rectangle right there.
Oh, this is off of MSNBC. But the way I saw it was Kayleigh McEnany, former White House press secretary, was trending, and I looked at it, and she was like freaking out. I don't remember what station that was on. I want to assume it was Fox, but they did put that out. It was it's fine. It's sometimes it's just for fun, but it's also showing just how ridiculously biased these things are. And that was, to put Trump dead last. Was he 40, was he dead last? Yep, the very end of the list, because wasn't there 46? But then you're going to put Joe Biden 14th and Obama number 7. It just means you can't take it seriously. So there's John F. Kennedy, widely regarded as
so funny.
president.
These people are so terrible. You couldn't imagine anything worse than number 7, and then there comes 14, 12, whatever.
Yeah, how do you put Biden there at 14 when it's clearly he's got dementia, he's fading, he's probably not going to run for re-election, he's an obvious puppet president, and you're going to put him at 14?
And look at all the bad stuff that he's doing, all the wars that have started under his watch, the funding that has gone to various sides of the war. You look at the country's lack of border control. And when I say lack of border control, we need to stop thinking about this like, it's just there was a tsunami and it was overpowering and it caught us by surprise. And here we are just picking up the pieces of the rubble. We're just picking up pieces of the rubble. It's like, no. You are actively participating in causing the daily problem. This isn't a one-time, black swan event. This is the plan. This is what Barack Obama wants. This is the same people pushing the policy. The Susan Rice, the people behind the scenes are exactly the same. But this is stuff even Obama knew he couldn't dare try while he was still in office. He would have got impeached in a heartbeat. But they're just using Biden for every terrible policy decision possible because, he's their scapegoat. Like, who cares? They're just going to dump him in the trash when they're done with him. And I think that time has just about come. The situation is that he's really fighting to probably keep himself on this side of the jail cell walls. And so that's complicating things. But I heard it, Blake, in Vegas that the odds for the next president just went up, and number 3 is Michelle Obama. Did you hear that?
No, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, she would be a popular choice amongst the Democrats. I haven't seen anything credible to say that she's wants to run, so I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't know who they're going to replace Biden with. Whether it's Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama would be the 2 most obvious choices. But yeah, I'm not. There's a lot of work to be done, and they're still propping up Joe Biden like he is going to go.
Right.
But yeah, they're in trouble, and they know they're in trouble. Internally, they are panicking.
Well,
but as long as there's no integrity with the elections, and as long as they can keep these borders open and maybe get their new voting block in place, and manufacture ballot harvesting, 12 days of voting, what have you. They'll stuff those boxes until they pull out a victory, I'm sure.
Well, here, let's segue into that story really quick, and we will get to the others. But, we will talk about the 2024 election, censorship, and illegal voting. But while we still have this graphic on the screen here, out of the presidents that have been alive during your lifetime, Blake, where would you rank them? Who's number 1? Who's number 2? Who's the worst? Who's the second worst? Since you've been alive. And you can just kind of take historical, like I was 2 years old. I don't know. But like, I know Jimmy Carter's legacy.
Right. Yes, I won't count him because I don't really remember that. But I mean, Reagan was iconic, so that was a big deal. But I mean, yeah, during the last 4 years, he was kind of caught under the Iran Contra scandal. There were issues, but certainly he was an iconic guy, and America felt like we had some swagger back then. Like we were the best country in the world, and we knew it. So Reagan was great. Bush was awful. That's what I remember was recession and the war with Iraq, the first war. So that was no good, and he only lasted 4 years. So he was run out of town. I really thought Clinton was great at the time. I know he's corrupt. He's a scandalous criminal, but at the time he was a rock star. So I will give him his props. Bill Clinton was pretty charismatic and amazing at that during that time. And the Republicans looked like clowns. And then you had 2000s. You had George W. Bush was awful, and he had an awful administration. And we had the 9/11, and everything went to shit. So I did not like that. Obama was hope and change, but he was greatly deceptive. So he was also terrible in his own way. Even though whatever, if I want to put him in his rankings and put him in the top 20 or something, I'm not gonna sit and complain about it. But to put him like number 7 and to put him ahead of like Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy is really atrocious. And then of course Trump was great. We had no wars, the economy was booming. Seemed like we were again getting our swagger back. And then we had some problems with the 2020 election, at least that I saw. I'm still not convinced that he lost. I'm not convinced that Biden got 81 million legitimate votes. So I'm still questioning that. And Joe Biden is absolutely awful. Should be the worst president we've ever had. It would be fair to put him in the 40s. But to put him up there at what was it again, 14?
Yeah, 7 and 14, I think you said.
I mean, how does anybody want to take that seriously? 14. That's so insane, and it's so bad. For these are supposed to like academics and scholars that came up with this list. I don't exactly know. Project Expert Survey.
Democrat donors came up with this list. Democrat acolytes.
Yeah, it's not intellectually honest, and it's embarrassing. And I'm sure they're going to redo this list at some point if we have a future. I don't know. Someday future scholars will reevaluate this stuff and hopefully laugh at it. But yeah, so that's the way I've seen it, Brian. But what about you, Brian, in your list? Well, I mean, you have a different perspective because I'm a lifelong liberal who hates the current Democratic Party and current leftists. You have always been a lifelong conservative, as far as I know. So you might have a different perspective on the presidents of our lifetime.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how everybody finds their way to libertarianism, but I would probably say that when I was a little kid, I used to watch the news, and I thought that was what was happening. It kind of mainly looked like red tie versus blue tie, and that was what I thought the system was. And in a way, it is exactly that: two wings of the same dirty bird. There's a lot of people I know that have grown disenfranchised with the system, and they don't think that there's much of a difference between the two parties at all. And I think in some regards that's accurate. Like John McCain versus Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama versus Hillary Clinton versus John Kerry versus George W. Bush versus, kind of go through that list of people. And it's just kind of like they're the same carbon copy of each other. You could probably toss Nikki Haley into that list, the Cheneys, the Pelosi's, just the people that play that game, the Schumers. Now, of course, it spreads out from just the president's office, but I was probably conservative or probably, more aligned with Republicans my whole life. And then I started seeing the absurdity of it, and that most of the situations were exactly the same. And that's probably when I started leaning toward libertarians, the Ron Pauls and just the people outside of the system, whether it was Jesse Ventura from up in your great home state of Minnesota or Ross Perot. I just always kind of like the outsider. But yeah, I mean, how much do we trust the voting process? I've got friends that are so disenfranchised. At this point, they don't see a difference. And what I'm saying is, I do think that there is a difference for maybe the first time in my life. I think I'm allowed to say such a thing without saying, you worship at the altar of any political candidate. I'm just saying the person who's currently being attacked by both of the two same wings of the same dirty bird, the Nikki Haley wing, the Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Kathy Hochul. That is the future of the Democrat Party. I see such a difference between what President Trump brings to the table and the things that he had right. And kind of like you were saying, I think you were alluding to, is that, America sort of had its swagger back up until COVID was unleashed on us. And that really, at the end of the day, that's supposed to be the job of the president. You're supposed to be the spokesperson, the hype man. And that's why Reagan was so good. He was kind of an eternal optimist, and he cracked jokes. Now Reagan was like he did not work blue. He was not like Richard Pryor. He was more like Jim Gaffigan. But Donald Trump kind of works blue. He's a little more Cat Williams. But they're both comedians, and they're both there to like launch the value of their brand. I know it's not in the show stack, but maybe you had a story about the Trump sneakers. They keep trying to bankrupt Trump. That was the big news over the weekend. The Judge Argeron ruled again hundreds of millions of dollars with no victim and no crime, and it's surely going to be reversed on appeal. And then he goes to SneakerCon, and I don't know how much he makes there. He's got the merger of Truth Social making a couple $1 billion. I see Donald Trump as something different. So if I were ranking my presidents, I'd have Trump at number one, and then it's such a far distant second place to Reagan. But yeah, as far as the worst, that's tough, because Jimmy Carter was traditionally known as the worst president, but until you saw Obama, you never thought anything could get worse. And then you saw Joe Biden, which is Obama's third term, which is far worse than Obama's first two. So I got to rank Joe Biden dead last. In my lifetime, he's got to be up there with Woodrow Wilson, bringing in the Federal Reserve. Who do you have in the top couple and the worst presidents of all time, Blake?
Or the worst? I mean, I would, George W. Bush and, Joe Biden were terrible. But I mean, also, Father Bush, who I didn't trust, who was, this whole era of neoconservatism. These, and they probably, helped ruin the Reagan presidency. So I don't like. He was a CIA guy, and that's just where this whole office was completely compromised.
That's such a good
those
point.
were bad for me. So yeah, Bush, Biden. I don't want to bash on Obama too much because it's supposed to be iconic. I mean, underlying the surface, yes, he's very deceptive.
Won't bash Obama is the one still running the deep state, Blake. He's still the puppet master.
I know, but I'm trying to be intellectually honest with these.
How does it get worse than what's happening now?
Well, I understand that, but I'm trying to make a point here. Is that this obviously this thing is very biased. So I wouldn't put Obama in the top 20. He was a very charismatic leader, of course, sure. But I mean, okay, Brian, then fine. Put Obama and Joe Biden dead last and Jimmy Carter, and now and then put, you're just as biased. Then you're going to put Trump number 1 and Reagan number 2. I mean, come on. And then you're going to, how are we supposed to reach out to the left and say, hey, let's get past this both sidism and let's work together, but let's be, intellectually honest about this. Obviously, Biden is towards the bottom. Let's put Biden down with the Bushes, and then we could put Trump up there. But I mean, if you're going to put him number 1, then no one's going to take you seriously. Just like I'm not going to take this seriously if you're going to actually put Trump down at the very bottom. So anyway, that's my take on it, Brian.
You had another article pulled up. This is one of the reasons why I think Obama deserves his
Oh
worst.
yeah, no. Once it's all said and done, he should absolutely be considered a tyrant.
The renegade, the actual traitor to the country.
Right. So, yes, it's government-backed censors who rigged the 2020 election are now stealing 2024. I did not get to watch this whole interview, which I
By the
really
way,
do
Blake,
want to see.
really quick, for countervailing views, go to cisa.gov/rumor control, because as they talk about in this story, that's what cisa.gov is. It's a, well, go ahead. I mean, tell us
Right.
what it is. But we
No,
have to say
it's
that
fine.
for countervailing views. It's a,
Sure, everybody should see countervailing views, and then you should see, make up your own conclusion. That's how critical thinking works. But they don't want that. They want you to, believe without question, the MSNBCs or the government or what have you, even though they've been caught in a number of lies, like saying Trump was a, Russian asset, which was turned out to be completely BS. And they spent 2 years trying to convince us of that.
they're still pushing it right now. They're still
Yep.
on it. Hello,
Oh yeah, it's still on it. It's in our stack. We'll get to it. But this is an alarming. This is an interview that everybody should see. I have not seen it all, but I will obviously highly recommend it. I'm seeing everybody talking about it, and this is an article about it. Tucker Carlson's interview with Mike Benz should be a wake-up call for Americans that our government is waging war on us. So if you didn't see the Tucker Carlson's interview last week, you need to take an hour and watch it. It's a mind-bending narrative about the emergence of what Benz calls military rule through an online censorship industry. Lays out in startling detail how corrupt and tyrannical the U.S. defense and foreign policy establishment has become. And we could take another look at that list where you see Eisenhower up. He was famous for warning us about the dangers of the military-industrial complex and how they've taken over. So most importantly, Benz, the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online, explains how a constellation of federal agencies and publicly funded institutions, under the pretext of countering misinformation, actually rigged the 2020 election and are right now smothering the First Amendment and rigging the 2024 election through massive state-sponsored censorship. And don't forget, they also said the laptop was Russian disinformation for Hunter Biden. So they destroyed the October surprise from the Trump campaign and outright lied to you and censored people from talking about it. You couldn't talk about the COVID-19 pandemic either. So you couldn't question the integrity of the 2020 election.
So true.
With the federal censorship industrial complex. And a lot of that stuff has been exposed under Twitter, with the Twitter files. And I guess, thankfully, even though we have criticized Elon or maybe have some skepticism, I certainly do, but that's a huge move for him to have taken over X Twitter, even though I think I'm still being shadow banned. I can nitpick, I can complain, but there's still a, somewhat free speech platform that we can still, communicate these things with, because, who knows, we might get this YouTube taken down later for some of the subject that we're covering, including, for criticizing COVID or the procedures or for the election.
I'd say a healthy skepticism is important in most things, including Elon Musk. And like you're saying, it's impossible to understate just how important the purchase of Twitter was. It really broke through. There were some things happening on Rumble, some things on Truth Social, but at the time, that was the one pushback, the one breakthrough, because we were living in a couple of years of complete censorship, where I would have never thought we could live through such a time until we did. The fact that so many people were silenced in a country where we're supposed to have that freedom, that as a core tenet of what it means to be human. That's one of the things that are supposed to set this country apart, is we're supposed to protect that right. Like, you can't do business here if you're not going to operate in that kind of manner. And the fact that people were allowed to get away with that as long as they did, the fact that various governmental agencies seized control of that, maybe they always have, with Project Mockingbird going all the way back, the news media with newspapers and television shows. Of course, they've been doing this for a long time. We know this, but it's never been easier to participate in the news dissemination process in real time, Blake. I think that's the part of this that can't be understated as well, is the fact that we're all unpacking these stories in real time, so the lies can't grow very far, very fast like they used to. Does that make sense to you? Would you agree with something like that?
Yeah. It's amazing that they've turned the tables on us after all these years. It was YouTube was for you and I, and now it's controlled by the corporations. They've made up this thing about Russian disinformation and with Trumping, colluding. That turned out to be BS, but they use that as an excuse to infiltrate all these organizations and to protect us against Russian disinformation. But it was all bogus from the start. So now they are just absolutely manipulating our reality, and we're not allowed to have this, open discussion. They will do everything it takes and pull every dirty trick to censor their opposition.
And I'd say that is mainly why the New American Media was founded. Obvious intellectual honesty had reached levels up until that point felt unprecedented, and we have blown past where we used to be. But in our conversation, it is a back and forth. It is an ongoing evolution of understanding and difference of opinion. Is it a nice day? Is it sunny outside? Well, is it sunny outside? That's kind of discernible. You can look at it as a factual matter, yes or no. But is it a good day? Well, to you, does it feel good? Is it too hot? Is it too windy? Is it not windy enough? Too muggy? That's all subjective. And I think there's a place, and there always has been in the media, for opinions as well as the facts. But watching someone grab the wheel of the country and steer it off of the cliff intentionally by lying about things in real time that we can call them out on, I think that's our responsibility. That's what we're supposed to give back to humanity. I think we're all supposed to participate in the process so that, so that we can just live a decent life. Like, we just kind of want to all be left alone, it seems like. But it feels like the tyrants will never stop tyranting. And they're just running around causing problems for everybody everywhere. So this article, or this interview rather, with Mike Benz, what were some of the other main takeaways here?
Well, Brian, I think we should probably switch gears. Like I said, I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm just encouraging everybody to go watch it, because that's going to lay out everything that's happening. So I think this would be a good time to transition directly to Julian Assange right now, who is one of these journalists who's in danger of being, actually, the irony of being extradited to the United States, where he could face trial and be locked up for the rest of his life for what? Doing his job, doing journalism, exposing uncomfortable untruths to the corrupt deep state. And so this is kind of the headline story, I think, that we probably should ready to transition to here. The Guardian view is on Julian Assange, why he should not be extradited, because sending him to be tried in the United States would be an unacceptable act against WikiLeaks founder and against journalism. So it's good to see even kind of a mainstream outlet try to stand up for other journalists, because you're not going to see a lot of that, unfortunately. You saw everybody freaking out the other day because Alexei Navalny died in a Russian prison. Now, this is the opposition leader to Vladimir Putin.
Correction.
Of course, made monster waves, talking about another interview with Tucker Carlson, criticizing or just showing a different side to things, getting Putin's perspective. But that is, Russia is not a free country in the way that we think of it either. And I don't know exactly how Navalny died. We'll just assume that he was killed by Putin. Not very timely. Not when you're trying to gain credibility with people in the United States to say, hey, Russia's not so bad. This isn't, we're not the monsters that the media make it out to be. And then all of a sudden your opposition leader all of a sudden dies in Russian prison. But it's
there you
also,
go. That was the word. That was the word I was going to say, is suddenly died. That was the word that people had gravitated toward. Died suddenly died. And then President Trump said something about suddenly died, I believe, in a Truth Social post. And then I think Pelosi was out there talking to Peppermint Patty, I think it was, about that he's repeating suddenly died. That's the phrase. I don't know what happened. I don't know, was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? Was foul play at play? What's going on with the body? Hearing bruises, and he may have had and you just go, was it foul play or was it not? And it's very similar or reminiscent rather of the Jeffrey Epstein case. And it makes you think of what Lula's trying to do to Bolsonaro. It makes you think of what Biden, Obama, Clinton, Romney, what they're trying to do to President Trump. And it's the highest level of insanity.
Yeah, and it's bizarre, and the weird hypocrisy of this all is because they are trying to put Trump away in prison. They'd love to have him die in prison. They didn't say a freaking word when Gonzalo Lira was begging for his life, trying to get out of Ukrainian prison where he was being tortured. He died of pneumonia. He could have easily been saved with a phone call, as they're saying, but they allowed him to die because he was embarrassing for the narrative. And they would love to have Julian Assange die.
All right, hold on. Wait, really quick. Can you repeat that last part of just the last part?
With Gonzalo Lira?
Yeah.
Dying in the Ukrainian prison.
And you said did you say pneumonia?
Yeah. He could have easily been saved. They wanted him to die in prison. And he was begging, he was telling people, please, make a fuss, say something. And they did. Tucker Carlson actually interviewed his father. So they did bring attention to this. Elon Musk put a lot of attention on it too. But you didn't see the journalists saying anything. They were, because it was against their, big bad Russia. So it was like, oh, how dare he, criticize the Zelensky regime. So he's a bad. But now that this guy has died, it's a big deal. And then, of course, what are they saying about Julian Assange? Probably nothing. Because they're just going to do whatever, the corporate, they want to protect their jobs. That's all they care about is going with whatever narrative that allows them to stay in their position. So it's pretty sad. And they'll go after Trump, lawfare. They'll lock up J6 people, peaceful protesters. So it's the height of hypocrisy. It's so disgusting to me. So why aren't they standing up for all of these people? So now we're worried about Assange being brought to America, which is just bizarre. You'd think he'd be safe in America, but he's not, because he embarrassed the military-industrial complex, because he embarrassed Hillary Clinton. Because he put out the WikiLeaks. Yes, there was a lot of problems that they didn't want to have revealed. So even, Edward Snowden's been speaking out about this, as he should.
And of course, where has Edward Snowden been since he kind of warned us, hey guys, it's so much worse than you realize. All the stuff in your fancy futuristic dystopian movies, it's so much worse. And we're like, oh, you.
Yep. So he's ironically in Russia as well. He's
what an odd, what an interesting place in the world to go.
Yeah, well, it's sad. We don't appreciate journalism anymore. We've been taken over from within by the military-industrial complex. So it's bad. So is Edward Snowden putting out this tweet to every leader and journalist making and writing speeches? You can't save Navalny, but you can still save Assange. If you're silent here and when and where you can actually influence the outcome, you were never standing up for principles. You were just hoping for applause. So let's see what these people are actually made of. But yeah, they didn't say anything about Gonzalo Lira. They're not standing up for journalism. They're only standing up for the narrative. So let's pull up another one. Enough is enough. It's time to set Julian Assange free. It says, calling it the last-ditch attempt to fight extradition to America confronts us with fundamental questions about press freedom and the power of the state. It's been 11 years since he disappeared from public view. First into the claustrophobic seclusion of the Ecuadorian embassy, and then 5 years later to the maximum security Belmarsh prison. Out of sight, out of mind. And that is about to change as he fights a last-ditch attempt in London's High Court. I don't know if it's tomorrow, it's this week, to prevent being extradited to America, and the strong likelihood of once more vanishing, this time into a state penitentiary for a very long time.
The leader of Great Britain is not coming to mind right now.
Yeah, the new guy.
I don't know. I gotta look it up because I'm trying to figure out is this a good guy or a not so good guy? Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
Yeah,
I don't know if I know this guy, so I'm just kind of trying to guess. Would they be likely to go ahead and grant extradition?
He'll do whatever his puppet masters tell him to do. So I don't know. This is a dark day, but maybe if he's brought to America, you'll see a lot of people pushing back, and you're going to see a lot of people protesting. So maybe that's the silver lining if this happens, but he should be a free man. So what is he doing? He's doing journalism, and I thought the United States, this was a free country and we would celebrate stuff like that. But not if you've got the bad guys running the show, which it seems that they are. And they control most of the news and information except for Twitter X.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot of the same characters, a lot of the same players for a long time. You can see new players coming in every year. There's fewer of the old guard. But it is interesting watching the players. If you can just identify, who the main movers and shakers are on each side of things, you kind of get to figure out what their game plan is based on what they're advertising to you. And that's such a dead giveaway. I don't know if that's fully realized, but to me, that's such a dead giveaway. But yeah, Julian Assange and Edward Snowden and Gonzalo Lira, shouldn't they be writing movies like 12 Angry Men about them? Weren't we raised on a Robert Redford generation of, look, it's Deep Throat. You're getting closer. I can't tell you much more. The pursuit of information, that was so glorified to us. And then when people are out there just telling you what's happening, these people are becoming ostracized and punished. It's supposed to have
Deep Throat. It was basically hidden for 40 years, 50. I don't know when did he finally emerge? 50 years later, when he was about to die. So it's not like he could go public back then either, but at least that was, celebrated. And the Washington Post, put that out, and it was devastating, and it brought down the president.
Well, if you have more to add on this, let me know. Otherwise, we could change over to these other two presidents,
Sure.
Trump and Putin.
Okay.
It kind of overlapped into the story we were just talking about. But if you have more to say on Assange, let me know, other than that appeal's coming up and we should all pay attention to it and we should all kind of make our opinions known on it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just also the hypocrisy. Why did the media freak out with Navalny, but they didn't say anything about Lira, and they're not standing up for Assange? And they're controlled opposition, and they should not be taken seriously. So we all need to be banding together to stand up for journalism.
Yeah. People give LeBron James, some much deserved grief for many different reasons. But he kind of looks at the NBA like a brotherhood, and there's a lot of players that do. I'm not just saying this is just LeBron, but it's the greats who came before you, the greats who are playing with you, the greats who will come after you. And you'll hear this when you talk about the greatest of all time, Blake, when people say, who's the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? And it's like, well, MJ had that killer attitude, not like LeBron. He buddy chums up to the other people.
I'm going to take back my previous answer, Brian, because I think we've had this discussion before, and that LeBron is not the greatest of all time. He's been healthy. He's statistically, he's done a lot, but I think we were saying, Larry Bird was technically a better player. You'd rather have Larry Bird on the court than LeBron, right?
No, I could not say that.
Because if he's so clutch. Right. Well, LeBron has been a healthier player throughout his career, but if he's actually in a game, wouldn't you want to have Larry Bird?
No.
I've
seen
That's
LeBron
go. Bias. All right.
I've seen LeBron do things that, breaking the Cleveland curse that is a supernatural feat. Jordan did great, but he didn't have to break a curse. Like, there's something seriously to the mentality of a cursed place. And it was
Chicago Bulls. Did they win a championship back in the day?
Oh, I'm not talking about one sport, silly. I'm talking about the Cubs. Up until that point, the Cubs hadn't won in 100 years.
Sure.
I'm talking about, but they had the Bears, they had the Blackhawks. They were all winning championships. Like, Chicago is doing just fine.
With the actual Bulls, Chicago Bulls basketball, did they win a championship before Jordan?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
That was breaking a trend.
No, but it wasn't a cursed city. Cleveland was a cursed sports city for decades.
Chicago was cursed, right? The White Sox, the Cubs, the Bears that won 85.
The Bears won in 85, and I think the Blackhawks won a couple.
Blackhawks were strong, but still,
I think
cares about hockey, right?
But here's my point about LeBron. What I was getting at is that he views it as a brotherhood, and as journalists, we really should kind of view this as a brotherhood. It's not like this killer mentality. I know, Blake, you and I, we've talked so many times about up and coming media. Shit, we've been doing this for 12 years. But as you watch people go up into the media ranks, and then they start yapping at each other, and then it's this in-person, infighting situation going on with them. It's like, you shouldn't be rewarded by dragging down the other people who are pulling in the same direction you are. Like, you both have a rope and you're both pulling the cart up a hill. You're all participating. You shouldn't be trying to kick the legs out of the people next to you. You don't have to love them. So how much am I supposed to worship at the feet of Assange or Snowden, or Gonzalo Lira? It's like, I wasn't familiar with Lira at all. But as part of a brotherhood, we should try to band together and call more attention to stuff like that. We got to try to help each other raise awareness of what's happening as it's happening. We are in a fraternity, Blake. And it's just the profession of journalism is just so under attack right now. It's terrible. So yeah, it would be great to see, what would a win look like? Does a win look like denying a U.S. extradition? Is that a win?
It's sad. I don't know. Is that a win? I don't know.
I don't.
It's like, well, you can stay in Belmarsh for the rest of your life instead of going to a penitentiary in America. The DC gulag. I don't know. I don't know what's worse. He's got to go. Go free. Got to go.
Yeah, just a journalism guy doing journalism. Where are the penalties for all the liars who were pushing known lies for the past 4 years?
Being promoted. Yeah.
Well, look, I think it's obvious the people that have been pushing propaganda, lies, pure lies. If you participate in an overthrow of a country, like you're not just doing your job. If you're a paid, what'd you say, hacks, lacks, and slackies?
Hacks, flax, and lackeys.
Hacks, I can never get it right. Hacks, flax, and lackeys. But yeah, I really hope that there's a day of reckoning coming. Our country would be kicking so much ass if they weren't spending so much energy and political willpower just trying to destroy half the country over nothing, over lies, over reckless policy decisions. Like, we have so many more important issues to be focused on, and I hate the people that are diverting our attention and resources away from it. I understand it's a power grab, but I don't really see what the Democrats party, I don't understand what value their policy decisions. When you look at the blue cities and the blue states, why do you want to go where Kathy Hochul is pushing District Attorney Alvin Bragg to attack the main political rival in a case with no victims? Like, we fled, Blake, you and I, we fled California. People are fleeing all these blue states that are backwards. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're going to try to make it hard to report on the reality of what's happening at our border, what's happening in our blue cities, the crime wave. I mean, this isn't a story that's like, oh, it's in the rearview mirror. Snowden did something. This is happening today. You know, but luckily we have a few different outlets now. But it's kind of the same concern. So I hope we utilize the fact that we're in a fraternity, and we should kind of pretend like it, even though it might be unofficial. But new media, alternative media, we're kind of in this together. We're just trying to figure out what's going on to fix any problems.
There's a lot of scammers and grifters in there too, and they might be controlled ops, so they have to be exposed as well. They're poisoning the well for everybody else and making everybody look bad.
Do you have anybody in
police
mind?
Ourselves at the same time. We don't know who all these people are.
Do you have anybody in mind that you've decided is likely to be in the paid opposition camp? Like, have you? I don't know where I stand on so many of these people.
Yeah, there's a few. I don't want to name drop, but I know that they just came out with a documentary exposing some, because some people like these guys, and I'm very skeptical of a lot of them. A lot of them that have emerged in the last few years that have big audiences, that made a lot of bold promises about white hats and things taking over and saving the day, and they have enriched themselves greatly by pushing a lot of nonsense.
Well, that sounds like you got somebody in mind.
Oh, there's a lot. Well, I mean, Brian, you know that there's a big documentary that just came out where it was exposing a lot of people that are in this truth movement.
What's it called?
Highly controlled. I'll see if I can find it. I know it's got it somewhere.
By the way, if you're not following Blake, he's at TV's Blake Walley on X, and he's also at thenextlevelnews.com. Make sure you find the Agree to Disagree show and the New American Media in all of the places. Subscribe. All of that jazz. Blake's looking at something here.
I don't know. There's one called, it's on Good Lion Films or something. I did see that. Oh, you've already seen it. So you forgot already? All right. Well, I
saw 10 minutes of it. I don't know. It's all the same stuff we've been talking about for 20 years. I mean,
there's a lot of shady characters that are
revolutionary.
Right. Well, there's some shady characters that have, risen to prominence that are making everybody else look bad by association, and they deserve to be exposed.
Gotcha. All right. Well, share it on X and tag me on it when you.
I haven't watched it yet, so what I will see. I mean, there's names I'm already familiar with. I mean, someday, Brian, we want to do a broadcast. We can go bash all these people. I don't care, but maybe not for this particular show.
Trying to make headlines. Blake did not take the bait over there. Okay, Blake, agree or disagree? Unless you have anything else on Assange, that it's obvious Trump is controlled by Putin.
Well, that's what some people would like to believe. No, I would disagree, of course. Let's pull up a story. How about this one from Paul Joseph Watson, Modernity. Watching Pelosi goes on an unhinged rant about Trump being blackmailed by Putin, saying she doesn't know what Putin has on him, but it's probably financial. So these people are still in their bubbles, still pushing this narrative. It looks ridiculous to the rest of us, but they seem to be obviously oblivious. And they're going to continue to push this. And of course, on conspiracy networks like MSNBC, here's another video here, clip from Glenn Greenwald.
You're so right, Blake. You're so right to call them a conspiracy network. NBC, MSNBC, they are deep state run comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. This must be, state-run media. This is insane. So these are the people that spread the most insane and unhinged conspiracy theories. They unleashed Bob Mueller in the report for 18 months, and he barely dignified this accusation of Putin blackmail over Trump. It's deranged. It's a deranged and sick fairy tale that has drowned our politics for 8 years. So let's run this clip. You're saying Peppermint Patty here with Pelosi.
Yeah.
What do you think? We're all wondering this question, Speaker Pelosi. What do you think Putin has on him? I mean, it sure seems like something, as you've said a few times, given that he refuses to criticize him, that he seems to be a fanboy of him. Are you worried
well,
at all?
During the Mueller...
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, we must be sure that he does not step one foot into the White House.
They're terrified of Donald Trump coming back.
Not as president or not as anything. He has brought disgrace to the White House, to these presidents.
This bitch has enriched herself off taxpayer money for 30 years, and she's obviously got to go. She is the epitome of what is wrong with DC. And it's criminal and disgusting. And they made up lies about Trump being associated with Putin. So it's obviously her that needs to go. And Trump was the champion to start going after and drain the swamp for creatures like this. And they're still spreading conspiracy theories.
Talked about George Washington. It's also President's Week for Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln died, it was embroidered in his coat that night at that theater, "One country, one destiny." And he gave his life to unify our country. And now we have someone who had the honor of serving.
Yeah, he was there to reunite the country, and instead people made up lies that he was, Russian collusion, and that all came from the Hillary campaign. It's these people who were dividing us, and they're trying to still continue to blame Trump.
In the White House, didn't consider it an honor, didn't consider his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution. And on this week, speaking out the way he did about Navalny shows you that he is a person without value.
She floats the name Navalny, but I guarantee this lady has never said a damn thing about Gonzalo Lira or Julian Assange. Well, he's probably mentioned Assange, but not in a good way.
He looks like he's going to be a person without dollars either, but the values.
And never probably heard of Navalny until a couple days ago.
Are what concern us.
Yes, the dollars.
So I don't know what he has on him, but I think it's probably financial. I think it's probably financial. Either something financial he has on him, or something.
Listen,
either.
Rewind it by about
Navalny
12.
Didn't consider his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution.
Oh, so like what they're doing now with the border with Biden? Yeah.
And on this week, speaking out the way he did about Navalny shows you that he is a person without values. He looks like he's going to be a person without dollars either.
Look at all the people that this woman who knows that there wasn't an insurrection locking up innocent J6 protesters, and she'll sit there with a straight face and talk about Navalny, who she never heard of till 2 days ago. It's just evil. These people have got to go. This is why Trump needs to get back.
Right.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
But the values are what concern us.
Yes, the dollars.
So I don't know what he has on him, but I think it's probably financial. I think it's probably
right there.
financial.
That's the part I wanted you to show more time. She gets really loud right there because that was the main point she was selling you. These people are salesmen, and they have their talking points. You really need to drive this point home. They battle test it. They cut it down. They have it word for word exactly. She elevated the tone of her voice, the volume of her voice, to get that last point across. Can we hear it one last time, Blake? Because this is clearly the lie that they're going to push, and you're going to hear this phrase a million times.
He did about Navalny shows you that he is a person without values. He looks like he's going to be a person without dollars
mocking
either, but the values are what concern us.
Yes, the dollars.
So I don't know what he has on him, but I think it's probably financial. I think it's probably financial. Either something financial he has on, or something on.
I mean, she just really thinks everybody's that stupid that we're.
It's probably financial. There it is.
Yeah.
It's probably financial.
Yeah,
We're still doing the same stupid story from all those years ago, Blake. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, they're still sticking with it. They don't know what to do. And if then
Hey,
media,
what can they do?
it should be Peppermint Patty's job as a journalist to push back and say, Nancy, we had the Mueller report and none of it turned out to be true. There is no Russian collusion. Now somebody needs to push back on her, but then that's not going to happen. Then Peppermint Patty would be out of a job. You can't push back on the queen there.
It's so interesting watching McEnany. Am I saying that right, Kaylee?
Kaylee McEnany.
McEnany and Peppermint Patty. It's just, you see the Hillary Clintons and the John Kerrys, the people that got close but couldn't become president. They end up Secretary of State. It's like you're all playing on this same team. Someone plays first base, somebody's the pitcher, somebody's in the outfield. They're all on these teams. And nothing they're doing is helping the people from here. Nothing is being designed to raise the purchasing power of our dollar. Nothing is being done to make our neighborhoods safer, cleaner, happier places. Everything is being done to extract all of the resources possible from us and give them to God knows who for God knows what reason. It's pretty incredible, actually. Hello, Dreamer. Thank you for watching us here on the Agree to Disagree show. If you didn't have anything else on Trump and Putin, I mean, this would be a good place to talk about another thing you may or may not be allowed to criticize, Nick.
Okay.
Public policy decisions here. Agree or disagree that people who criticized Israel should be banned from jobs? What say you?
I am going to disagree. That is extremely chilling. That should not happen in America, where people should be allowed to express their opinions, even if they're bad ones. And certainly people can be, critical of certain countries and policies that they have or what have you, whatever's going on in the news, and they should be allowed to express themselves, right or wrong, without fearing of these kinds of retaliation. So we have this one. It's Douglas Murray announcing new doxing database to keep critics of Israel from getting a job. Now, this is in Britain. This is a director of the British Free Speech Union. That's Orwellian. He's part of the Free Speech Union, except if you exercise your free speech and it's something that the administration doesn't like, you could not be getting a job. You'll be blacklisted. So he announced a new initiative on Monday aimed at doxing critics of Israel for hate speech and keeping them from getting jobs. So he's now going to lead an initiative to have harsher penalties for those accused of hate speech and ban bigots from employment opportunities based on social media posts. So, and Brian, I know you've talked about this. Maybe you applied for jobs and wondered why you didn't get them. And I don't know, maybe if I've had the same thing. It was something I've worried about greatly in 2016. Like, would I be able to get another job again when things I was hoping maybe my media would get noticed and maybe I'd get some assistance from other people in the industry that would want to hire me or help me get hired somewhere. But when that fell through, I was worried, like, would I even be able to get a job anywhere? Or would people go through my social media posts and go, no, this guy's too controversial, so we can't hire this guy. And then you never have any reason why. You don't understand. And you think, oh, I'd be perfect for this job. But then little do you know, this potential hiring person's going to, Nancy at the, what do you call it? Human resources is going to go through your files and find controversial things and say, nope, we can't hire this person. Sorry. So it's terrifying. It's chilling, and it doesn't belong in this country. Now, this is Britain, but I mean, this happens here whether we want to believe it or not. So there's plenty of people that have lost opportunity.
And that's in one scenario, Blake. That's in one scenario.
Yep.
That's in the scenario where
Yeah.
a person is screened before getting in the door. There are other scenarios where a person is unceremoniously extricated from the location after the fact while currently employed for no apparent reason. There's all sorts of ways that this rears its ugly head. If you've ever lost a gig while working for somebody who you have a hunch would be completely ideologically misaligned with you and with common sense. It is a wonder how many times has that happened. There's a question for the audience, and hello from Florida, from sunny Florida. Is it sunny? Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show and the New American Media. And Blake, he's at TV's Blake Walley. Yeah, HR's of Karens, of course. But yeah, that's kind of the question to figure out, is how often is this happening? And to what degree, like, yeah, everybody has a right to hire who they want to hire. But, you know, when does doxing go too far? And that's kind of, that blurs the lines into the next story. I don't know how much more we want to talk about this one, but this one's about doxing minors, as long as they're certain kind of minors. So it's like, who determines who gets doxed? Like, why are we in these modern day Salem witch trials here? But yeah, I mean, if you've ever lost a job to strange circumstances or never even got a callback, you know, you have to wonder. It's all out there, and everything's been weaponized. And I think that's the reason why I obviously put Obama and, you know, by proxy Biden at the top of the list, because they've weaponized all the intelligence agencies. They've turned it inward way more so than we've seen before. And it's almost like there's an active campaign against the American people at this point. So it's a little strange. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's talk about this story, Blake. Is it agree or disagree that it's okay to dox minors? And by the way, my answer to that is, like, everything should face a healthy but fair criticism, skepticism. Medicine should be robustly discussed and agreed or disagreed or questioned. Question with boldness even the existence of God. Question like that. You should be allowed to have some opinions, and you should be allowed to question things and have conversations. That's what agree to disagree is all about. It's like, let's talk, and if we reach a point where, like, one person's getting triggered and it's you literally you just don't want to keep going on that path, agree to disagree on that topic and keep going. Like, you don't have to lose friendships over, you know, particular issues. You agree to disagree and you move on. But yeah, this vengeance mentality that's happening. We got Rittenhouse on the screen, and Kyle Sandman, and whatever that young kid's name in the bottom right, Mr. Richie Rich. That kid's about to become a gigillionaire, suing all these outlets that blasted him. Walk us through this one, Blake. Is it okay to dox minors?
No, it's not okay. I mean, people are outraged over the shooting in Kansas City, as they should be, but it also exposes the hypocrisy of the media, because if they were white shooters, they would have been identified already, and they'd be getting blasted in the media, just like this kid did. But he turned out to be Native American. And so they really made asses of themselves. And then, of course, we did have the Sandeman, who's also with the Covington kids there. He was also sued these media outlets because they destroyed his character, too, all over cable news. Like he was insulting this Native American man. And then, of course, when Kyle Rittenhouse shot people in self-defense, he was only 17. He was absolutely roasted in the media. And anybody that even, like, you know, tried to help him and give money to his, you know, legal fund, they got doxxed, and they had media come after him. It was chilling. So we know that there's gang activity. And Missouri is like the worst state in the nation, I think, as far as gun crime goes, between Kansas City and St. Louis. And it was horrific. Just cast a stain on the Super Bowl parade they had the other day. And it was unfortunate. So there were shootings, and these people are, have to be exposed. But why won't the media talk about it?
Do you have
why is it only
normally I don't talk about criminals, and I don't put their face up. You don't want to give them the publicity they're looking for, especially people that target kids and stuff like that. But this guy definitely targeted kids. Definitely got an innocent woman. those three people you're looking at on that screen, Blake, they're all innocent people, demonized by the media that just wants to attack white people all day. It's the number one thing that they push. It's their favorite story. It seems it's in their top 20 favorite stories.
Kyle's a paid actor. I don't know about that one. I don't know if that's a troll or a joke. There are people who think that Ashley Babbitt was also an actor. I don't know if I buy that either. But there certainly are paid actors, so I don't really know what to make of that. That guy went through the ringer, man. Oof, bad.
I watched Kyle. If anything, he's John Wick plays him. I mean, that guy, he had trigger discipline. He was on his back. He didn't pull until the guy reached for his. Like, I mean, it was
acting. Brian, was all set up. It was all staged.
Well, what do we know about the Kansas City shooter here? What do we?
I don't have a story pulled up on it. I just know it happened. They've had a couple of awful stories. One with those guys having the house party and they died of fentanyl.
Oh, that one too.
Yeah, the shooting after the Super Bowl parade. So, but yeah, they've had some problems doing that, and it's just weird, the hypocrisy. I did see a quick clip. I think I had some Fox News off in the background, and it was showing like a clip with Bill Maher and Van Jones and Ann Coulter. Like, I don't know, like it was years ago, but no, it was a recent one. And she was talking about how we knew that the shooter must be black because they haven't exposed him. And Van Jones was sitting there, but it was like, yeah, this is true. I don't want to agree with Ann Coulter a whole lot, but they're all crazy. I can't, who do you agree with if you're sitting in a room with Bill Maher, Ann Coulter, and Van Jones? Maybe Bill Maher on most of it, but still, yeah, some interesting characters getting together. But it does show the problem with this and the media rushing to it and how they've twisted the narrative. And so, yes, they are doxing these young kids. They like to go after the whites or perceived whites. And it's a double standard, and it's strange.
It's a strange racial bias, a strange hatred. Yeah, I'll buy a second if Blake, if you can pull up a mugshot of the KC shooter. I got
it. All right. Well done, Brian.
This is, and it's interesting, like Blake said, Ann Coulter, she's an interesting one, and you keep arm's length on a lot of these pundits for good reason, because look, anybody that talks as much as you're going to say some things that come out a little wonky or a little more provocative, or, they kind of imply something you didn't mean. You have a chance to, recalibrate your sentence and, the thought you were trying to say. But watch Van Jones, watch his face here. Let me full screen this. I want you to watch. He's just, you'll see exactly what I'm seeing. Here we go. This is the one Blake just referenced here. Bill Maher, Van Jones, and Ann Coulter.
I mean, we don't know who did this shooting, by the way. The Super Bowl shooting.
We have some idea.
What?
If it were a white man shooting, we'd know.
True.
Oh, no. But then
look at Van Jones. It's a smile, and it's like, oh, obvious part out loud.
We'd know.
Well, we don't know. But they haven't.
That's how we know it's not a white man. I can tell you that much.
But you think they were repressing that reporting?
They wouldn't tell us about the transgender woman that shot up the Christian school for what, like a year?
Blake. That's
I don't know why Bill Maher is acting so surprised. Like, wow, you think this might happen? Like, duh. Even Van Jones knew it. He's smiling. It's obvious. It's how the narratives have twisted in the last several years with the media.
Ann Coulter, I mean, she's a lot of things, but occasionally she does something that's like, this is her checkmate move. Van Jones has no retort for any of this. And it's like, it's so interesting watching him squirm here, because for a year they didn't tell you about the trans shooter in Tennessee.
San Bernardino out here. Remember?
Once again, look at Van Jones. He's like breaking the third wall and looking at the camera, then going back. He's got nothing. San Bernardino shooter, they kept that so quiet. It didn't fit their
San Bernardino out here. Remember the crazy terrorist Muslims? That's when I first noticed, they're not telling us who it is. It's not a white male. The longer they go without telling you, it's not a white male.
Okay, well, for this one, for right now, as of Friday night, February 16th.
We know.
We don't officially know. Okay, you know, you have special powers. But, I mean, we don't know.
I guess that's supposed to be a joke, Blake, is where he says that Ann Coulter has special powers. Ha ha ha. Or something.
I don't know. There's sometimes with, Marr, he can be absolutely brilliant and call things out. And then there's sometimes where he just looks pathetic like that. And it's like, come on, dude. Stay consistent at least. But, sometimes he's the voice of reason and sometimes he's an utter buffoon. And it's weird siding with Ann Coulter. And I didn't even know she'd been doing anything recently. I don't know. I don't want to say they're irrelevant, but it was kind of like looking into a time capsule of like 5-6 years ago. Van Jones and Ann Coulter. But
Fun
maybe
fact,
I'm just not looking at the right sources. What's that?
Fun fact. On Media Row in 2016, you were over near the Alex Jones brawl, and I was over on the other corner, and it was Ann Coulter and Van Jones right there at the hot corner. Like they were right. Like I was there as that was happening, and you were over in
your backyard, Cleveland. Yeah.
Jimmy Dore's face. That's how funny that was. Yeah, good times. Good times. Laugh track, exactly. Check out the Jimmy Kimmel laugh track. It's simple. It feels like the George Carlin AI stand-up special, which, by the way, I'm about 8 minutes into now. Yeah. I keep trying to finish it. I'm too distracted. Anyway, right. All right. Let's see, Blake, anything else to add on that? Otherwise, I just have one final story, I think. I got this one. Agree or disagree that it should be a crime to refuse and or question the jabs? Blake, agree or disagree? By the way, you go to cdc.gov/vaccine because we are prisoners of what we may or may not say, because we may or may not be dangerous, and you need countervailing views because they think you are. Anyway, you get it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yes, now this is in France. So we did the one alarming thing that was from Britain. Try to get you out of a job, prevent you from getting employment if you dare criticize Israel. And now in France, it's even more terrifying because now it's a crime to refuse the mRNA jabs in France. Ruling class has just said it's illegal to question and refuse. So the French people could be fined and imprisoned for refusing to take their boosters and daring questioning their leadership. So it was a law passed, France qualifying any opposition to the jabs. I'm trying to use my language carefully so I don't trigger the YouTube algorithm. But now it's called a sectarian aberration. So it carries a penalty for up to 3 years imprisonment and 45,000 euros. It will not tolerate any criticism of the therapeutic treatments which will be recommended. So that's pretty amazing. According to a report by Natural News, known as the Totalitarian Edict, known as Article 4, it's a highly illiberal law that prohibits residents and citizens from saying anything bad about the treatments and that are either mandatory or just recommended by the French government. So already renowned doctors are being targeted. Well, we've seen a lot of doctors targeted online, even on like Twitter X, Robert Malone and many others that have pointing out some of the problems that have emerged from the perhaps maybe side effects. Maybe they're made up. I don't know. So, but yes, you can always check out cdc.gov and make sure you're getting countervailing views. Make sure you're getting well-rounded opinions on here. But either way, I don't think it should be a crime to refuse. People should have medical choice. I don't think that should be controversial.
Dreamer jumps in here in the comments section, Blake, and says, unless you work for Congress, the post office, or the White House, then you don't have to get one.
Right. You get an exemption, right? If you're above the law, pretty much how it isn't. Hello, MJ Sedona. Great to have you guys. All right.
I heard the story about the Red Cross. Are they asking if you've had it? And if so, are you eligible? Are you not eligible? I'm hearing that. Once again, something to look into. I'd love for everyone
Right.
to
Something
report
else
back.
to look into are the terrifying reports coming from embalmers that are finding things in parts of the body that used to not exist before 2021. Where are they coming from? I don't know. But again, don't take my word for it. You may check CISA. Do what's right for you in your situation. Unless you're in France, then I would get the hell out.
Yeah, you
But-
get the get out order like in New York, like in California. Get out. France, get out.
Right.
Yeah, I heard some people talking about the collapse. You know, sometimes you can figure out what's going on based on if you do on certain lousy algorithms, like maybe Google or something that heavily censors and lies to you, or they'll push a certain narrative instead of just giving you what's going on. This conversation was that normally you see a lot of rebuttals that are saying this has been debunked, but there weren't a lot of articles that were debunking this. That's terrifying. It's all awful. We're still trying to figure out the long-term ramifications of this. They say that this COVID-19 was launched at us either intentionally, which many assume, or accidentally, which some still claim. Is there a long-term strategy as tens of thousands of Chinese nationals are flooding into the United States right now? A few years later, how many people are suffering from health situations based on this? What if it was part of a multifaceted attack? I don't know, but the questions we should kind of be able to quickly answer. You know, can't answer completely with confidence. I mean, why would you assume anything else? That maybe, you know, it's hard to say it's worse than we knew because it was really bad. But what if it is worse? I don't know. But yeah, I'm fascinated on the topic, Blake. If this thing keeps coming up, I'd love to research this more on you know, on the evening show, Blake. Let's tell people about that because I'm pretty much out of stories for today. But we're gonna.
Yeah, I've only got one more. I don't know if that's in our caption stack. I'll take a look at it. But yeah, Brian and I are thinking about taking things to the evening time. Maybe moving this show out of its current Tuesday, Thursday afternoon position and bringing it to the later in the evening.
And by the way, I think what I would try to do is to try to keep doing those two shows solo and do an additional show. Blake would do an evening show. Perhaps we're discussing all the options. We're just having the
right.
I want to mention to Patriot's Voice. He says his daughter was coerced, and then she had a stroke at 23. I'm so sorry to hear that. So sorry to hear that. I've lost 2/3 of my remaining family from the beginning of COVID through COVID. So yeah, 2 out of 3 just gone. So sorry to hear that. Stroke at 23. Yeah, just being coerced to take something. It's very, very Harvey Weinstein. Hey, put this inside. You don't get to work in this town. Like that is hashtag
well,
me
they
too.
mandated that stuff. People lost their jobs. It was terrifying, and people didn't know. And people want to trust their, elected officials and trust these government institutions. But I mean, as MJ Sedona, it takes a long time to make sure that these things are safe and effective. And we don't know exactly, how it affected everybody, but we're seeing some alarming problems emerging that have come out in the last few years. And maybe there's a connection, maybe there's not, but it's something to be aware of. And people should have the full scope of information, the known risks involved. But a lot of people weren't allowed to, and they're certainly not going to be allowed to in France. And they did some horrific things around the world, like Australia or even Canada, trying to, and here in the United States, they really tried to, airline pilots, so many people, medical professionals, greatly, they went over the top pushing those.
And it is something that I don't know that people take it as seriously as they should. the figuratively, heads need to be rolling for this, at least figuratively. Politically, all of the people that violated your civil rights, pushing these mandates. Look, and I get emergency use authorization. I understand. You know, this is back to the story. The Mike. What's the guy Benz from earlier? But emergency use authorization could only be enacted if you said there were no other therapeutics that could help. Well, denying other potential options and silencing anybody that wants to participate in the daily act of science, which is you question science with boldness every single day. The people who aggressively silenced conversation need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable for their civil rights violations of people. And I don't know that people understand just how bad it was. I don't know if it's going to be a major issue in this campaign cycle, Blake. It should be. Or do you think most of that washed away in the 2022?
I don't know. We shall see, because everybody would seem to be pushing it, some more than others. So, but
All right.
Brian, we got a couple people in the chat that think we should go prime time.
Well, I'll
Late
tell you what.
shows.
I promise we will. Is that agreed? Do we know what time? Is it 8:15 tomorrow and 9:15? What time? My time?
Oh, that's right. We're gonna do a test run tomorrow night. Yeah, probably.
Well, let's advertise that. So what time? Earlier the better. Let me say earlier the better.
Earlier the better. Well,
earlier the better because I still have to do post-production. I do have to upload, download. Like, it takes time, and I don't want to be up till 4 a.m. doing this. But I want to get it out once it's done.
I'll say roughly 9 o'clock Eastern time.
That's the earliest we can do. Then we'll do 9 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah, we're gonna try a primetime show. So what will it remain on Wednesdays at 9? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just gonna throw some stuff around. I don't want to commit to a hard time where it's got to be exactly this time on this day. But we're just gonna try to mix up the formula a little bit. See what works.
Blake, we're talking about these, everything that's happening, the repercussions, and you look at New York, another ruling against Trump because he took out a loan and paid it back, and the bank was not aggrieved. There's no victim, and they just charged him hundreds of millions. Now they're saying that truckers might stop. They might decline to run loads in and out of New York now in retaliation because the people have just had it with the lawfare. Do you have any thoughts on what happened over the weekend, and then Trump selling shoes and selling out of his shoe line and $2 billion for Truth Social? It's been like every attack on Trump is met with an even bigger return. That trucker story was the last thing I wanted to toss in here today.
Okay, yeah, there's one more quick story to talk about that I have that's in the captions. Outside of that, yeah, I did have the trucker thing. I just, I think it's cool if the truckers could get together and make a point to do this. I just think that they'll be replaced. So if they're not going to deliver food to New York, they'll find somebody that will. Even if they're going to hire illegal immigrants, they got to eat up there, and they're going to find a way to circumvent that. I love that the truckers are on Trump's side. They could be, put to work for a good cause. I don't know if just punishing New York is necessarily going to be the one that's going to do it.
Well,
if they can blockade it,
but
I think New York is a lost cause at this point, man. I don't know. I had another story about they were giving out like $10,000 in gift cards or what have you. I mean, it's staggering. They're just rewarding these people to come in here illegally. And I don't know. I don't know what the New Yorkers are thinking. They just got to go. It's dead. It's gone. Blue cities escape. They're fallen. And yeah.
Hey, I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm scrolling through Twitter here, and I know I think I tagged you on this one with Starlink because I know we use it. But did you see where Laura Logan's down there, where there is no internet, but Starlink is being used to run the illegal invasion?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the report, but I guess she's in Panama, and a lot of people are coming from other countries, starting out in Panama and making their journey up through Central America and then up through Mexico and into the United States. And it's a lot of like military-aged men from China or Kazakhstan or wherever they can, and then they're being rewarded and enticed to get into the States, and they get free food and money and benefits. It's staggering.
It really is. I did find that last story that was on the stack that was kind of buried underneath the other one. I guess I'll just leave that open-ended Trump question about bouncing back, selling shoes and whatnot. But you had this other final story.
I did see that. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, it's cool, and they look kind of neat, but I wouldn't want to pay that much money for it. But to each their own. It's kind of a cool collector item.
And the $2 billion Truth Social merger, where he's getting hit for hundreds of thousands in New York, then he's going out and making billions elsewhere. Like that's kind of interesting, right? And as far as truckers and denying business, I was trying to find the tweet from Scott Adams, but he sent out something that he had future business appointments scheduled for New York, but he's no longer participating until they overturn the Trump verdict. And so, I mean, it's a lot of people deciding, pull your companies, pull your kids out of school, to leave the state. Don't do commerce with people that are actively trying to partake in election interference at the highest level. Yeah, Blue York. I mean, the videos we're seeing with the residents being so angry, I would not be surprised if we had an actual vote. I could see Trump winning all 50 states. Jocelyn says, border agent told me that many invaders were brainwashed to come here. They had no plans, but talked into it. Oh my God. Oh God. And now all these people owe the mob. They all owe the mob favors. And they don't even know what they're doing here. They're
so worried about Trump getting elected that they're willing to just open it up to anybody that's going to come in here and vote blue, I guess.
Blake, I was at Walmart, and none of these incidents would have particularly struck my attention on their own, but I think they all together just kind of felt weird. A whole portion of the parking lot is now blocked off with cargo containers, and they said, they're doing a renovation inside. And then inside they got certain things blocked off and they're renovating. But it's just a bunch of cargo ships like forming like this big rectangle blocking off a whole section of the parking lot. And then I went inside. I was trying to find an item. I couldn't find it. And I asked the worker, I said, excuse me, do you know where this thing is? And he said, no English. No English. And he pulled out a phone and he tried to do the speech to text communicator. I'm like, how did you get hired here at Walmart? You don't have the skill necessary. Is like you're working with, like, how do you even communicate? Jocelyn saying that people have no plans and no skills. Like, anyway, so I go shopping, and when I check out, the whole family next to me speaking another language, dressed in some sort of traditional, I guess the closest thing to describe it would be traditional African garb. 4 or 5 people right there, at least 1 or 2 people walking inside with aviator glasses on and a hoodie, looking all suspicious, going the wrong way where traffic is, where the carts leave after paying. The whole place feels like a transportation hub. It feels like a relocation center for illegal migrants, Blake. Have you encountered anything like this? Because this was it was like a stack of 4, 5, 6, 7 things just going, wow, this must be one of the hubs. I'm just guessing.
I'm out of the big city now, so I have escaped from LA, and I am in a smaller area where I hopefully don't have to deal with those sorts of things where they're just being flooded in. Like they are in some of these sanctuary areas or bigger cities is where the immigrants are going. I want to get the illegal aliens that are being greenlit into the country.
Jocelyn saying the cartel who's running the borders, they're beginning to threaten those who want to go back home. They feel their lives are at risk if they don't come into the country. This is so weird, Blake. The fact that non-government NGOs, the non-governmental, was it just organizations? These have turned into a branch of government at this point. The organized, orchestrated chaos and damage being caused by NGOs globally, and these think tanks, whether it's the WHO or the NWO, whether it's the World Economic Forum, it doesn't matter. There are people pushing pieces into position right now. And we really do seem to be rudderless at this point. Do you expect that states are going to do more of what Texas is doing on its own? Or do you think we're just kind of screwed until the election and it's just kind of like brace for it? Because it's going to keep raining. It's not going to stop.
If there's a lot of problems with this election, then I could see some of the states breaking away from the Fed. But I mean, it could be just to prevent a civil war or anything like that, if there is an election. So there's a lot of things, a lot of ways this could unfold. But the deep state is in trouble. They know it, and they're trying to import all these people, and they're going to try to force their will on the American people. And we'll see if we can stand up and fight for this country and its founding principles. But we'll.
Jocelyn, they're saying that she's seen a lot of Chinese around Sedona and Cottonwood. So, yeah, folks, just as we tell you all the time, just be prepared. Get yourself a little bit more ready than you were yesterday. Have a plan. Try to take out some important tasks each week, each day. Try to do something to become physically fit, spiritually fit, financially fit, whatever that looks like. It could get wonky. Things could get a little strange, a little frosty. So stay frosty, my friends. So, okay, Blake, that's all I got for today.
Okay, well, we got last one. Okay.
That's right. I put that one up there, and then you took it away. I forgot about that. Yes, let's get back to civility.
Okay, here we go. It's important to maintain civil discourse no matter the absurdity. So let me pull up this tweet that I found.
Agree to disagree.
Agree or disagree. So here's a post. This is David Icke, but who's seen this video.
Oh, do I have to watch this again? It's so absurd. I mean, you might as well.
Well, right. So, this is a nice man here who commented on the David Icke, who is making fun of this crazy absurdity that we're seeing. He's saying there's bollocks, extraordinary bollocks, unimaginable bollocks, and then there's Admiral Rachel Levine, a whole new level of bollocks. Enjoy. And it's this other person, Lawrence Fox, man and woman face, says that climate change is racist. And of course, this nice man here, S.J. Swami, says, it sounds like you're expressing a strong opinion about Admiral Rachel Levine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but it's important to maintain respectful discourse, even when discussing controversial topics. And I think in most cases that's true, but this is like mental illness on a new level. It's on display, and this person is an authority. This is representative of our current government, and it's weird, to say the least. So let's watch Admiral Rachel Levine in her Admiral uniform explain. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Admiral Rachel Levine.
Hello.
This Black History Month, I'm pleased to partner with OMH in advancing
Please lecture
better
me on
health
Black History
through
Month.
better understanding
Yes.
for Black communities.
Oh,
Climate
please, I
change
need
is
to
having
better
a
understand.
disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of Black communities.
So this is with a straight face, somebody who's not an admiral, a weird like health secretary, whatever. And I'm not, saying judging the lifestyle or whatever, but this is formerly a man who has transitioned, and now I guess to make him feel better, they've granted a rank of admiral, which is freaking insane. It takes a long time to achieve those ranks, but now we're just we're giving awards out. It's just beyond strange, beyond bizarre, but here it is, and you just have to see it to believe it.
Black History
It's
Month.
Black History Month, and they've trotted the Admiral Levine talk about climate change and how it's affecting the Black communities.
To partner with OMH in advancing
Which
better
is such
health
an absurd
and better
argument.
understanding for Black communities.
Yeah.
Climate change is having a disproportionate effect
Climate
on the
change.
physical
With a straight face, how does she know that it's having a disproportionate effect? Climate change, and it's affecting the physical and mental health of Black communities. I mean, I don't know, Brian, should we be respectful here, or should we be laughing out loud and pointing our fingers at this crazy mentally ill person masquerading as an admiral of our country? And think about the embarrassment of people around the world who have to see something like this.
I could repeat to you the rule number 5 from Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Ridicule is a man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It's irrational. It's infuriating. It also works as a key pressure point to force the enemy into concessions. Pretty crude, rude, and mean, huh? They want to create anger and fear. So ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Should we lay that down when they're using it on Rittenhouse, on Trump, on, who's that guy in New York that just tried to help that crazy help protect people from that crazy violent guy? They got him in a
the
case.
subway, the military, the soldier who's getting his life destroyed for saving people on a subway.
So I mean, you have to put some sort of punitive measures into place, and you have to be able to ridicule when things just don't make sense. Otherwise, it literally is just like out of 1984. They're trying to tell you 2 + 2 is 5, and that it's not true, and they know that it's not true, but they're not going to stop until you say that 2 + 2 is 5, and that's where we are. And that this stuff I heard from Jordan Peterson all these years ago. I'm like, I don't know, bro's just kind of overreacting up there. It felt like he was overreacting. I will not be compelled to say this or that. And I'll tell you what, I mean, man, was he the tip of the spear. That was coming to a city near you. And it seems trivial, Blake, but I think it's super important. We have to be able to call these things out. And when something's mockable, you mock it. It's man's most potent weapon.
Yeah, you get in trouble. You're being insensitive to this mentally ill patient who is an admiral. You should be saluting. Salute your admiral, Brian. How dare you mock her? You need civil discourse. But here we go. Which we continue to run it.
and mental health of Black communities.
Who is she to talk
Black
about
Americans
mental
are
health
more
about anybody? Okay, but it says Black. Okay, here we
than
go.
white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And
Such as what? What is a
65% of Black
climate-related
Americans-
issue?
I have no idea, but you're not allowed to question that, Brian. Be civil.
report feeling anxious about climate change's impact.
Oh,
Through our Office
pause,
of
pause,
Climate
pause.
Change and Health Equity.
You mean, hold on. So there's a significant portion of people who feel, what was the phrase that the person used here? To anxious?
Feeling
Feel
anxious about climate change's impact. So there's people all over the Black communities who are feeling anxious about climate change and how it's affecting them physically and mentally.
Well, you just wonder. Yeah. You just wonder how in the world that could happen when the media and the school system is constantly terrifying impressionable brains who are either absorbing your broadcast, they're casting their version of reality at you, and that's what they're doing in schools, whether it's in elementary, middle, high school, or post-secondary, going into college and beyond. Like, they're terrifying you because there's dollars at stake. Whether some of this is true or not, the way that they're using it as a weapon, of course they're creating mental illness in people, just an irrational fear of anything. Pick something anybody could rationally afraid of. They're breaking the brains of these people. We have no idea what the climate's going to be based on projections and models. We can make hunches. We can take guesses and make our hypotheses. But I mean, science must be chilly. The science is never settled. And anyone that tells you you're not allowed to question science is probably somebody you should never trust. And I mean never. And if I'm ever out there telling you otherwise, then that'll be my dead giveaway, that I will tell you to never trust yourself to investigate situations. Just rely on me. Okay, let's hear the rest of this quote, and then we'll make our way out.
Feeling anxious about climate change's impact.
Anxious.
Through our Office of Climate Change and Health Equity and the Office of Environmental Justice, we're working with providers.
Office of Environmental Justice. I mean, what the fuck?
It means defund. Defund.
And community.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see what not Lula, Malay for the first time in I don't know how many, a long time.
How about the Argentinian president?
Yeah, he came up with a balanced budget in 3 weeks in.
Nice.
They said it couldn't be done. It's done. You chop, pardon the pun, you chop departments like this that are cranking this type of baloney out. Baloney. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
To identify innovative approaches
To
that
identify.
empower communities to address the health consequences linked to climate change.
I wonder if she's feeling health consequences. You think this happened because of climate change? I don't know.
Visit hhs.gov for
There you go. Visit
more information,
hhs.gov.
and tune in next Thursday to hear from another HHS leader.
Oh, I can't wait
and
to
how
tune in
you
next
can
week.
contribute to advancing better health for Black communities.
For more information,
can't wait to tune
visit
in next week.
hhs.gov/black.
I don't get. This is not the country I grew up in, Brian. I don't know what happened, but
Did you hear the voice at the end? Can you go back and turn up the voice at the end? I feel like that might not be Levine's voice at the very end.
No, it's not. It's like the little paid advertisement
Let me
right
hear
at the end of the.
Let's see.
For more information, visit hhs.gov/black-history-month. Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay. All right.
Wow, so serious.
I was trying to discern if that might have been a black actor or if that was a white actor or an AI outro. Okay. Yeah.
I'm saying
yeah.
those that make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
Atrocities.
Like
yeah.
We can't accept that. I don't know if there is civil discourse for something like that.
Well, look, Michelle Obama.
I mean, you want to be respectful, but I mean that's mental illness, and that person. I mean, they should have just tossed that. That'd have been like nice, but maybe we'll not play that. But hey, it gives us stuff to talk about. It's insane. So, but here we are.
Welcome to the party, everybody. Jocelyn adds, it's not the environment, Mr. Levine. It's people like you in high positions that make me anxious about the future. People in power. The weirdos seek the power, you know? But
yeah.
Kenneth B says a disco ball should have been behind. Yeah, that sounds good too. Climate change. Yeah, not climate change, climate change. Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate that. All right, well, that's all I've got to say for today, Blake. Tell people where to find you on the way out, and we're going to do a show this evening or tomorrow evening. Tell them about that.
Right. TV's Blake Walley. And of course, the archive is always on thenextlevelnews.com. And yes, we'll be also be doing a show tonight, Toxically Masculine Tuesday with Mike Barra and Dr. Brooks Agnew. So we can tune in for that. That will be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then also tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, Brian and I will try to do kind of same sort of format show in the evenings and see what happens. And then maybe we'll do another Thursday afternoon, but we might start transitioning, not that kind of transitioning, out of the afternoon and push the show towards the evening. We shall see.
We shall see. But tell people where to follow you again, Blake.
TV's Blake Walley on Twitter, X, and of course, thenextlevelnews.com for the archive.
Excellent. All right,
Thank
cool. Well, then
Thanks.
We'll
Great to have everybody.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Blake. And for everybody else out there, I want you to follow the New American Media and the Agree to Disagree show. We're in all of the places. Rumble. Blake, you don't need to sit and listen to us do this for another moment or two. You've heard it before. Let's see if Blake can
Brian's
remember
got like 12 of them, right? We even ran a graphic. Oh, I might still have the graphic somewhere on there.
I saw A2D2. I don't know if that was like in a different folder for the new graphic, but I'll tell you some of them.
It certainly is. Here we go.
On
Okay.
That is pretty cool. I need to record the voiceover, and I need to combine those somehow. That is neat. I do like that. But for the people who could not see what that was, thank you, Jocelyn.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Brian, great job. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Take care,
tomorrow.
Blake. Yeah, so
right.
Truth Social, we're the New American Media. On Spotify, it is the Agree to Disagree Show. On Rumble, the New American Media. On Telegram, Telegram's a big one. TNAM and TNAM Chat for the New American Media, TNAM, because the news always matters. So TNAM and TNAM Chat on Telegram. On X, we're at American_Media_. On Facebook, we have a page for the New American Media. And we also have a group for TNAM's, New American Media's, apostrophe S. TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. It's a group. Join it. And when it says, how did you find this private group? Tell us that Brian sent you. We're also on Instagram, the New American Media. Follow us in all the spots, please. Also, we had another person link up with us on Patreon. We have kind of gone back and forth getting our Patreon going, but I believe it's patreon.com/the New American Media. The more of you people out there who could contribute even just as little as $5 a month, you too can save an independent journalist. But it all adds up, you know. It's like, well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one $5 donation at a time. But yeah, if anybody feels so inclined, I think there's a couple tier levels on there. If someone wants to be an angel investor, or if someone wants to kick in a few more, I don't know. I got to go back and work on it, but it's just nice that I can log in and log out again. I felt like my site was taken down a couple times, but such is the way of American media. We have been targeted, silenced, censored, shadow banned, demonetized. And of course, that leads me to probably one of our biggest platforms is youtube.com/@the New American Media. And that's where we have 13 years of content, 1,400 shows, and it's kind of a home base. But, you know, that's all well and good. But since we've had so many issues on YouTube and Facebook specifically, we are also at thenewamericanmedia.com. I intend to do a facelift on that page real soon to kind of revamp it back. And if all other outlets fail, we will be at thenewamericanmedia.com putting content out. But for now, those are the places that we are. And we appreciate you following us today on the New American Media, giving you the Agree to Disagree show, because we should be able to have complex conversations, I think is what I was trying to say there, without making it too nasty. If we find a place that, you know, we reach an impasse, we agree to disagree. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something else. You know. Doesn't need to keep being so aggressively, I don't know, concerning, unpalatable, if you will. So that is kind of what we say here at the New American Media. We ask you to join our mostly civil conversation. Just try to push through the news each week and figure out what's going on. So join us tomorrow, 9 o'clock. We'll be back going live on all these platforms. Subscribe, like us, thumbs up, heart the button, type a comment. The algorithm loves that. Like it, subscribe, all those jazz, all that jazz, all those things. And we will be back tomorrow. Appreciate you. Love you.